Сегодня очень жарко. И раз сегодня так жарко, поговорим о звуке «ж». It's summer now, and I realized that we actually hear much more of the sound around us in the summer. Well, first of all, since it's so hot, in Russia we simply say that it's жарко, жарко, or it's жара, на улице жара. Maybe you even have a good old fan that while working is making this same sound. So it's so жарко that you decided to plug this fan in and it started going. Or maybe you went for a walk. And what will you find there outside? You will find my favorite mnemonic element to remember this letter and this sound, j. Does this beetle by any chance remind you of anything? Exactly, it looks just like the letter j. And what sound does this beetle make? So to experience the sound j, you can basically just channel this summer energy around us. It's very summery, very vivid, very strong even. So the beetle makes the buzzing sound. And this is why in Russian the verb to buzz is жужжать. Жужжать. The beetle is buzzing. Жук жужжит. Жук жужжит. Жук жужжит. Жук жужжит. But now let's talk about a more serious aspect of our pronunciation. A very similar sound exists in the English language as well, in such words as treasure, pleasure, measure, equation, decision, and so on. But compared to English, the Russian sound is a bit harder. So if I wanted to sound like a member of Russian mafia and I wanted to intensify my accent, I would say pleasure, treasure, what else? Measure, equation. You can hear that it's a bit harder, harsher even. In both English and Russian, the sound zh has a twin brother, sh, zh, sh, zh, sh. So it means that the mouth placement is exactly the same for both sounds, with the only difference that when pronouncing zh, we use our vocal cords, unlike for sh, vocal cords remain sleeping. How about we now test this difference? Sh, zh, sh, zh, sh, zh, sh, zh, sh, zh. You can place your hand upon your throat to feel the vocal cords vibrating when pronouncing zh. Sh, zh, sh, zh, sh, zh, sh, zh. And you can notice that your tongue or your lips are not moving anywhere between the sounds. They stay in the same position. Sh, zh, sh, zh, sh, zh. Now you're right that z and zh are even more similar. They both are voiced. We use the vocal cords for both of them. Z, zh, z, zh, z, zh. But what will be the difference here? First of all, you might have noticed that when pronouncing zh, especially Russian zh, unlike English, our lips are more rounded, as if they were ready to give someone a kiss. Zh, 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 zh. Whereas when I pronounce my Russian z, z, my lips remain more neutral. Z, zh, z, zh, z, zh. And I also want to explain the mechanics of the pronunciation of first the English sound, z and zh. Why they are so similar? It's because the mouth placement, that is the position of our lips and our tongue, are practically the same when we are making these two sounds. When pronouncing z, our tongue, either the tip or the blade of our tongue, is at the alveolar ridge. The alveolar ridge is this ridge right behind our teeth. It's where our teeth are, let's say, attached to our skull. This is the alveolar ridge. And when pronouncing z, again, either the tip or the blade of our tongue is there. And this is how we get the sound z, z, z. If you pronounce it right now, you might feel that the tip of your tongue or the blade of your tongue are very high up. Yeah, they're almost at the teeth. Z, z, z. Maybe they're even touching them sometimes. When pronouncing the English zh, 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 the English, that's important. The blade of our tongue is behind the alveolar ridge again, and the front of the tongue bunched up, or we can say it's domed as a dome. It's bunched up to the palate. It's bunched up to the palate. And when our tongue is bunched up to the palate, what do we get? We get palatalization. Palatalization means that the sound gets softer. Zh, zh, zh. This is why the English zh is much softer than the Russian zh. So first things first, I would suggest that you try to explore both the z and zh sounds in your native language, those that are natural for you. Just try to explore what changes when you move from one sound to the other. Let's see. Z, zh, z, zh, z, zh, z, zh, z, zh, z, zh, z, zh. What I'm feeling is that when I'm moving from z to zh, my tongue slightly moves back, just a couple of millimeters. Z, zh, z, zh. And I feel, again, when pronouncing zh, I feel that my tongue is getting closer to the palate, as if it's lifted a little. Z, 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 z. They are indeed very similar, and you can explore both sounds by comparing them together. And what about the Russian zh, the one we are here for? The English zh, as we learned, was post-alveolar and palatalized. So the tip of our tongue is behind the alveolar ridge, and the back of our tongue reaches for the palate. And this is what makes this sound so soft, unlike Russian. The Russian zh is called retroflex. Retroflex means that it's flexed, the tongue is flexed backwards, retro backwards. You don't need to really flex your tongue backwards, it's much simpler than this. The tip of your tongue is still post-alveolar, it's still behind the alveolar ridge, but the back of your tongue is not reaching for the palate. The tongue looks curled up because the tip of your tongue is still behind the alveolar ridge where it was, but the main body of your tongue, the back of your tongue, is now wants to lay down, is not reaching for the palate. And this is what makes the difference between the soft and the hard sound. Zh, 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 zh. So you want to try and experience your tongue, most of your tongue being flat at the bottom of your mouth. So zh, 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 zh. While pronouncing zh, try to let your tongue go down. Zh, 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 zh. And the difference between z and zh will still be here. Zh, z, zh, z, zh. I would say the difference in the image of the English and the Russian zh is that our tongue, when producing the English zh, reminds us more of a spear. Zh, 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 zh. Whereas The Russian zh reminds us of a spade. Zh, 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 zh. So now we've seen the difference between these sounds on different levels. Still, don't hesitate to use your imagination. It can help you to put the right amount of effort into this. It can help you remember better. It can help you understand something that is difficult to understand without all these metaphors and everything that we used. So again, you can always channel the summer energy, the energy of the fan going zzzz, the energy of the beetle flying around you and doing zzzz. And lastly, I wanted to give you, I don't know if it's a tongue twister, you shouldn't twist your tongue on this, but it's a good nice sentence to practice your zh. Лежит ежик у елки, у ежа иголки. 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 This is it for today. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you again for watching. Thank you for supporting my small channel, and I hope it was useful.